like to introduce another hard-working person. It only takes one person to make a difference. Here's one person, Frank Fiamingo from the New Jersey Second Amendment Society. Give him a big hand.
Well, I want to thank Dan and the people from East Jersey Tea Party for inviting me tonight. And I look out and I see friends. So I want to say, welcome friends. Because I know that everybody here thinks pretty much the same way that I do about the subjects that we're going to talk about tonight. And we have a lot of things to talk about. Well, I've been told that when I speak, I'm a little too serious. So I'm going to start off with a joke. Two peanuts were walking down the road. One was assaulted. Now I want you to keep that. I want you to keep that joke in the back of your mind because we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that. Speaking of peanuts, let's start right off with the elephant in the room. Okay, we all are grieving. We're along with the people in Newtown, Connecticut. There's no question about it. We're all parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, cousins, and so forth. And what happened there is absolutely incomprehensible. But see, that's the problem. Because it is incomprehensible. It's not something that can be understood in terms of, scientific analysis or, in any other way that I know of where you could say, well, this is why this individual, he watched too many video games or, he was on drugs or whatever it is. It's just that the horror of the act is so incomprehensible that what happens is people who don't filter their emotions through this organ that we have up here have a tendency to look for comprehension out of the incomprehensible. And they try to come up with a reason. They try to come up with something because no one likes the unknown. That's one of the things that we're all a little bit afraid of the unknown, so we like to be able to categorize things and pigeonhole things. The problem is something like this, and I'll explain why in a second, is not really something that you can categorize and easily put into a cubbyhole and say, well, this is why this happened. But that's our tendency, and we're human beings, so we react to things that way. I mean, obviously, we're very emotional. That's a good thing. As long as you take that passion and you take that emotion and you filter it through the mind, through the brain, right? This is the organ that makes us different, right, from all the rest of the species, plants and animals. And the reason that it makes us different is because we have this faculty that these other creatures don't have. But if we don't use it, right, then we're really no better than animals, and that's unfortunately what happens. So let's look at the situation from the observation of nature, right? Let's look at nature for a moment. We just went through, I don't know how many of you, I'm down from South Jersey. I live in Manahawkin. I live in Beach Haven West. If you guys watch the news, you know what happened to Beach Haven West, all right? My street was devastated. Luckily, my house is pretty high up. I'm on pilings, but mine is a newer home. Most of the homes on my street are all ground level. Well, guess what? They're all coming down. They were all destroyed. So can you imagine, during the Hurricane Sandy, somebody going and standing on the edge of the pier and going, "Stop! I don't want you to do this. It's bad. It's evil." Well, yeah, it is bad evil. What happened and the destruction that Sandy brought is bad and evil, but it's part of nature. It's not something that you can stop. It's not something that you can control by will or by emotion. There are certain things that do happen in nature that we cannot control. Maybe someday, but you certainly can't control a volcano, a hurricane, an earthquake, and all of the natural disasters that happen. Well, guess what? Man being a creature of nature is kind of a double-edged sword. A man's mind can get unwired. Okay? A human being, man, woman, right? A human being can lose their touch with reality. And when they do, all bets are off. all right? They can be evil. They can be insane. They can be so out of touch with their human neighbors that they see them as targets rather than as people. They see them as something to be destroyed for out of fun, out of pleasure. We know, right, that this is something that we don't want to see. This is something we want to yell, stop, don't do it, it's evil. Unfortunately, it doesn't work any better than it does on the hurricane. All right? Because we cannot control certain things by just willing that they don't happen. So instead, we have to take a step back, and we have to go, well, what can we control? Maybe there are some things that we can control. Maybe there are some things that happened that led up to this tragedy that could have been prevented. What could they be? Well, he wasn't a legal gun owner. He did not have, possess those firearms legally. He was under 21, and in the state of Connecticut, you have to be 21 to legally own firearms. They belonged to his mother. Whether she was a collector or she was afraid of her, I don't know what the reason was that she had those arms, and she was perfectly legal to have them. But as a firearms owner, you also have a responsibility to secure your firearms in a way that other unauthorized people do not have access to them at all times, at all times. And she obviously did not do that. Now, I don't want to go too far into that because we haven't really seen the details. Somebody asked me to, before, I think it was Marilyn, was it that you asked me to talk about the reporters? Unbelievable. I mean, if you were watching this as it unfolded, those reporters ought to be ashamed of themselves. There were two shooters, there were three shooters. He used two guns. No, it was a rifle. It was a rifle and two guns. To this day, I still don't know what the real details of the situation actually were because there was so much misinformation. So, I mean, I know that a lot of people got upset when, and said, well, that's, you're interfering with the people's First Amendment rights when the chief of police got up and said, you need to stop this and stop giving out this misinformation because if you break any federal laws, I'm going to make sure that you get punished for it. Well, a lot of people were upset about that, but he was absolutely 100% right. You cannot have cowboys just going out and shooting off their mouths about something as tragic and as critical as what was going on at Sandy Hook Elementary School during that shooting. So I understand where the chief of police was coming from. Now, on the other hand, at this point, I would like to hear what the details really were so that we can understand a little bit better what happened. Will that help us? I don't know. I mean, honestly, again, we can look at the debris that happened after Sandy. I had to look at it for weeks because it was all over my street. Did it tell me a lot? It told me, I did the right thing by evacuating. It told me that, So that's kind of, preparation in a sense. But that's what we can do. We can prepare. Okay, one of the ways we can prepare is by making sure that our firearms are secured. Now, in New Jersey, in a way, we're prevented from doing one of the most intelligent ways of securing your firearm, which is put it in your holster and carry it with you. If it's on your person and you're in control of it at all times, then it's secure, more or less. Unfortunately, to get a carry permit in New Jersey, I can't say what I'm thinking, but you have to know a judge. Let's put it that way.
What are you saying?
So it's next to impossible, and we'll talk about that real quick because and somebody's going to have to hook me because I'll make your ears bleed. I'll stand here and talk for a month and I'll never stop, and I don't want to do that because I know people have other things to do, but there's so much to talk about. How many people in this room, and don't be afraid to raise your hands because I think does everybody know everybody in this room except me? Pretty much. Pretty much. All right, how many people here are firearms owners? All right, this is amazing, right? This is a really good representation of the state of New Jersey, because
Can I get their names?
a very large number of people
I'll print it out for you.
in New Jersey do own firearms. Here's the thing. You're all felons. Okay? Because possession of a firearm in the state of New Jersey is a second-degree felony, right? Punishable by 7 to 10 years in prison, minimum 5, presumptive 7, 3 years without parole. Okay? And you say, well, no. I mean, I have a FID card, or, you know, I have a pistol purchase permit, a handgun purchase permit. Meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. It's only good as long as you stay within the very narrowly defined exemptions, okay, that are allowed. Because New Jersey state statute says possession of a, I'm talking handgun now rather than long gun. So for all you hunters, don't smack me later. I'm talking about handguns. Possession of a handgun in the state of New Jersey is a second-degree felony unless it's in your home for, you're using it in your home for self-defense. You possess it in your home for self-defense. You're taking it to or from the range, point A to point B, with what they call reasonable deviations. Well, I don't know, do we have any lawyers in the room that could, you know, possibly, do me a favor and define what reasonable means? You know, it's whatever the police officer that happens to pull you over, and I have no problem with the police. As a matter of fact, the rank and file police that I have, and we have a lot of them in our group. Oh, by the way, my name is Frank Jack Fiamingo. That would have been nice, huh? And I belong to the NJ2AS. See how prominently it's displayed? That's not by accident. That took me a long time. I developed that just so that I could put this. See? A lot of the police, the rank and file of the police, are 2A supporters. Big time 2A supporters. They understand that when we're in trouble, calling 911, you know, it's a crapshoot. You know, I mean, if they happen to be patrolling your neighborhood, great. If otherwise, you know, you're going to wait till they get there, or you're not, you know, because you're not going to be there. So, and there's so much to say, it's really hard to know which direction to go in here, but keep in mind the things that I'm telling you, that you are a felon if you possess a firearm. I'm sorry, am I making all that noise?
Yeah, no, that is.
It's Goldberg.
If you possess a firearm in the state of New Jersey, you are basically a felon unless you stick to those very narrowly defined exemptions. As I mentioned, to and from the range, making only reasonable deviations. I don't know whether that means you can pee or not. You know, I really don't know. Can you stop for gas? I know, you know, a lot of my members ask me the question, can I pick up a friend to go shooting? I said, I don't think so. I wouldn't risk it, because if somebody decides, you know, you got a taillight that's out and you didn't know it, police pull you over and they, you know, want to, you know, have whatever, figure out probable cause to look in your car, and there's your firearm, you're going to be, you know, you're facing, and even though you'll probably win the suit, you're going to be spending a lot of money. Okay? You're going to be spending $30,000, $40,000 to defend yourself just to stay out of prison. So who wants to do that? Not me. I'm not going to take that chance. What's the other exemptions? Well, if you're moving from one legal residence, where you're allowed to possess the firearm, to another legal residence, where you're legal to possess the firearm, unless your name is Brian Aitken. I don't know if you guys know that story. I won't go into the details there, but okay. You're also allowed to go to the gunsmith, you know, if you have a reason to go to the gunsmith and back again. And of course, when you purchase a firearm, your handgun, you can take it from the, you know, from the store to your home. But understand what I'm saying. You can't have it in your car loaded and ready to use in the event that you're carjacked, or that you know, that your spouse is assaulted, or your kids are being kidnapped. It has to be locked in the trunk of your car, unloaded, where it will do you absolutely no good. Okay? So we have a big problem in New Jersey with regard to this. Now, why is this a problem? Well, and what is the NJ2AS about? Well, what is the Second Amendment about? It's not about guns. You know, because people say that, well, the Second Amendment, you know, you gun guys, you gun nuts. That's not about guns, it's about love. It's about family, it's about liberty. You know, why do you possess a gun? You don't possess a gun. I mean, some people do. I don't want to talk for everyone, obviously. Some people collect them, they like them. They like to look at them, you know, whatever. But most people who purchase a firearm, they're purchasing it for the purpose of protecting their life, liberty, and vital property. That's love. That's not guns. That's not about being macho. That's not about, by the way, being macho. Women are the biggest, right now, are the biggest, or most, what's the word? Most firearms right now are being purchased, more firearms being purchased by women than they are by men. You know, they're catching up with us because they heard about us. And they're right. But the truth be told, why are they doing that? Why are they buying the, you know, what do they fear? Well, they fear a lot of things. You know, you were talking before about the fiscal cliff. What happens when people, should it get to the point where people are starving? What do you think they're going to do? You know, they love their families too. You know, and do I say, well, you know, we need to shoot them? No, of course not. We need to help them as much as we can. We need to figure out a way so that people don't starve. But on the other hand, if someone's going to go insane and evil and attack my family and take the food out of my children's mouth, or my children anymore, grandchildren, well, I have a child, but now that I have grandchildren, my children don't count anymore. So, anybody, right? Can I get an amen on that? Yes, okay. Why? Because I love my grandkids, and then when I'm done with them, I go home. And you can do that with kids. Anyway, so I say it's about love, and I'm serious. It's about family. It's about, and if it's not, let's say you're a hermit. Well, it's about self-love too. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with loving yourself and loving your own life and your own liberty and your own freedom. Now, I know everybody here is about liberty, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this room. Tea Party members, right? It's about liberty. That's really what it's about, right? Okay. So, here's the question you got to ask yourself. How are you going to protect your liberty in the event that anyone wants to take it away from you? I don't care if it's some random thug, some criminal, or some nutcase who tries to break down my door, or whether it's the federal government who decides that we are no longer free individuals, that they're going to confiscate our weapons, and they're going to tell us what we can and cannot do with our lives. And that's not what liberty is about. In fact, we haven't had liberty in this country for such a long time. Because liberty, what does it really mean? I mean, when it comes right down to it, we all have to, you know, somebody give me the hook when it's necessary. We all have one thing that we own. We have one thing that we all own for sure. Right? We own ourselves. Right? Because if we don't own ourselves, and even if, I know some people who are religious say, well, don't say that, God owns. Well, that's not really true, because even if you're religious, right, God put you on earth and said you're responsible for your own life, right? Am I wrong? I mean, I don't know any religions that say, you know, that's the whole thing about free will and all of that, right? So, if we're responsible for our own lives, then we're responsible for protecting and preserving those lives, right? And not only our own lives, but if you talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what is more important to the pursuit of happiness than family, than your children, than your wife, than your grandkids and your cousins, and, you know, I mean, without that, what do we have? You know, it's an existence, it's not a life. I mean, I can't imagine my life without family. Maybe that's me. I don't look around and I saw a lot of people smiling, so I think it's everybody. So, if we own our own lives and we have a responsibility to protect that life, and ultimately, it falls to us, right? Because if we're, you know, walking down an alley somewhere, it falls to us. We're not going to have time to call 911, or we could scream, but maybe there's nobody there. And I'm not even saying that the firearm, if you're carrying a firearm, that it's always going to save your life. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you got a hell of a lot better chance with it, right? If you hear, behind you and you're prepared than if you're standing there. And I compare it to this. I wrote an article that was published in The Record just last Sunday, I think it was. And what I said was, we go out in our car, and we've gotten insurance, and we've taken lessons, and we're real careful about, hopefully we try to drive the speed limit of 80 miles an hour on the parkway, is the speed limit, I think. And, but around town, we're more careful around town, and we don't drive to stop signs and so forth. But there's no guarantees, right? There's no guarantees that somebody drunk won't be coming at us head on and hit us and kill us, right? Now in a car, all you can do is sit there and wait and hope your airbags will save you, right? You have no defensive maneuver in a situation like that, right? But if a criminal or somebody insane is coming at you, you want to be able to have a defensive maneuver so that you have a better opportunity of protecting your life than you would otherwise. So with that, I'm going to tell you a little bit, real quickly, about the New Jersey Second Amendment Society, who we are, what we're all about. I'm going to beg you to join, because there's only one way that we're going to protect, that we're going to share this love, protect our families, and move forward with this mission, and that is to have numbers. You know that in the Tea Party. We have all these little different Tea Party groups, and then recently I saw that there's a Tea Party caucus, or a Tea, hopefully, I don't know how that's working. I hope it's working out well, because alone and separate, we're not that strong. Together, we're indomitable. We the people, right? We the people. And there's a lot of different ways that we can express the fact that we the people. We can write letters. People say, oh, what's the point? There's a point. And trust me, there's a point. If there's enough of us, believe me, when they see them, whether it's emails, phone calls, faxes, visits, I don't care what it is, right? They see enough of them, they go, holy crap. I better listen, because come voting time, these people obviously are riled. They're not going to sit at home. So it is important. It's important to write those letters. It's important to go and knock on the door. Well, you know what? They work for us, damn it.
That's right.
Right? They work for us. I pick up the phone and I go, Assemblyman so-and-so, I want to come and visit you. I want to talk to you about the Second Amendment, or I want to talk to you about this, that, or the other thing. Guess what? They see me. So they're not going to deny you. If you say, I want to come and talk to you about liberty, family, love, they'll see you. Trust me. They can't really deny you if you're in their district. So I really encourage you to do that. But I said I was going to talk about the New Jersey Second Amendment Society, and it's sort of what that's about. I founded this organization about a little over 2 years ago with a few other guys. We were on, I'm not really much of a gun guy, to be perfectly honest with you. I never touched the gun until about 2 years, a couple months ago. I wasn't raised under, by people who hunted, or, my father was in World War II. He would never even talk about it. A lot of guys that were like that came back from World War II, they didn't really want to discuss it. I had no exposure experience with guns at all. My relatives were all from Italy, right? So, they came here, they weren't citizens, so we kind of assimilated. Yeah, Italian, exactly. So, so we didn't have that culture, because that's uniquely American, that tradition of hunting and then passing that down to, well, not that other countries don't have that, but I mean, it's very, very strong in America. Right here in New Jersey, it was very strong for so many years. But you have to understand, part of the problem is, we're such a small state and so densely populated that the amount of land left for hunting got smaller, 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 right? So the tradition got smaller, 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 and people lost the tradition and the culture, so now they don't support it. So at any rate, so what we do, I started this about I decided, I went to visit my brother in Florida. He took me shooting, I really liked it. Came back to New Jersey, took the pistol course, bought a firearm, my wife said, if we're going to have a firearm in the house, we both have to take the course. So we both did. And then, we really kind of enjoyed it. So we were like making a date out of it. Now, we're 63 years old. Or at that time, I guess we were 62 years old. And, it was like a date again. We were going, and we would get up on a Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. We would go to the range. We'd shoot for an hour or two, And then on the way back, you'd want to, right? A lot of people do that. It's because it's
what?
when you're... What's that?
On the way back, you want to what?
On the way back from the range? What?
You didn't finish the sentence.
Okay. Well, we went. We would go. We would shoot. On the way back from the range, you'd say, "Well," I said to my wife, "Well, let's stop for lunch." She said, "Don't you remember from the course? You can't do that. It's not a reasonable deviation to stop and get a burger." So that's what kind of got me thinking. I started talking to a bunch of guys on the New Jersey Gun Forum. We all got together and we started the New Jersey Second Amendment Society. What do? We have monthly meetings. We try to accommodate the entire state, which is a difficult thing to do because this state is weird. It's thin and narrow and long. So we have meetings down in Winslow, which is South Jersey. We have meetings in Toms River, and we have meetings up in Belleville. This is my Italian. For those people who are Italian here, I'm describing.
You're yelling too much.
Sorry. So we try to rotate the meetings so that we can hit the different areas. And what do? We have speakers. We've had speakers. We've had everybody from. We've had demonstrations of home safety. What you not even having to do with guns. Things that you should do. Your windows, your doors. Safety things that you can do at home. And we've had demonstrations of how to properly handle a firearm in a home defense situation. We've had speakers. We've had Black Man with a Gun. This is a podcaster in Maryland who very wonderful guy. He happens to be a reverend, and he's a very religious man, but he believes in the right to keep and bear arms. So he came and he spoke to us. Rabbi, the gun rabbi. We've had the gun rabbi come and speak to us. Wonderful man. Terrific guy. And if you don't know him, you got to go and see his stuff. He writes wonderfully. And we've had everybody from, low level. We had the first bipartisan debate, or not debate, but let's say the first bipartisan presentation on the Second Amendment. We had Senator Michael Darity, and Senator Jeff Van Drew. One Republican, one Democrat. They came. It was phenomenal. I mean, everybody got to ask their questions, and it was a really good presentation. We've had Alan Gura. For those of you who don't know who Alan Gura is the Supreme Court attorney who won the cases Heller and McDonald, right? The Heller case in D.C. and the McDonald case in Chicago, which the Supreme Court said the right to keep and bear arms is an individual right. Unfortunately, the morons forgot to say anywhere. So instead, it's been interpreted because the cases involved banning the possession of a handgun in the home. So since the cases involved possession of a handgun in a home, that's the only thing that was actually adjudicated. So now, yes, everyone has a right to possess a handgun because Chicago was banning them, D.C. was banning them, and so forth. So we've had, and he's phenomenal, great speaker. I mean, he's probably the most potent 2A attorney in the country. So we've had a lot of really interesting speakers. I mean, from, I can't think of them all right now, but we've had really quite a number of very, very good speakers. So we do that. We also have Operation Established Compliance. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have this thing. Well, we sued the New Jersey Division of State Police. We took them to Superior Court. Yeah, we had to. Why? Because we were getting calls from people saying, how come I got to get a notarized copy of a letter from my spouse saying it's okay with them for me to own a firearm? Doesn't say anything in the statutes about that. Somebody goes, how come I got to do this 4-page quiz? Complete this 4-page quiz in order to get my... Doesn't say anything like that in the statutes. So we would call up this chief of police and say, what the hell are you doing? And they would go, oh, I've been doing this like this for 30 years. Don't tell me my job. Well, okay. I understand. So what we did was we got smart. We took us 6 months. We raised $10,000. We retained an attorney. And we looked at the statutes, and he looked at the statutes with us. We asked for we asked these towns, where were they getting this information that they could do it the way they were doing it? And they said, oh, we're getting it from the New Jersey State Police Firearms Applicant Investigation Guide. Which, if you can say that 3 times fast, I guess you can get one. But they wouldn't give us one. See, we asked for one because we said, well, we need, if we're going to advise people about the proper, what's proper and what isn't, we need to have a copy of the guide. No, you can't have one. Why is that? Well, because we're not giving it to you. So we did, we made an OPRA request, Open Public Records Act request, and they refused to give it to us. They said they were exempt because Christie had issued an executive order that exempts certain departments in this, from having to submit to OPRA requests. Yeah, I know, it's disgusting. So, but we questioned whether that was valid because it said for certain things like standard operating procedure manuals and things like that, which this wasn't. This was a guide, right? So, but unfortunately, we took them to Superior Court and lost because the Superior Court judge agreed with them that, they didn't have to give us the guide, right? So now it's in appeal. So that's one thing that we're doing. We're still suing the state police on that. We hired an attorney, we retained an attorney to go to the individual towns that said, well, we're not going to change our procedures just because you ask. Guess what? One lawyer to another, he would call the municipal attorney of the town and go, do you realize that your police department is out of compliance and you personally are liable for the fact that you're breaking the law? I said, oh, well, I don't know about that. Oh, we'll take care of it. In every single case where we've challenged them and we've sent them a letter saying, you are breaking the law, you're breaking New Jersey firearm statutes by not complying with the statute that says there are 2 forms, criminal background check, mental health records check, fingerprinting, which by the way, all of you who have who are firearms owners have gone through this. You have to jump through hoops just to get your firearms purchaser identification card. But those are the only things that are allowed. It's the 2 forms, criminal background, mental health check, get your fingerprinting, you give them the references, you give them an employer verification, that's it. They supposedly have 30 days to process it, and then they give you your firearms purchaser identification card. But that's not what they were doing. So we're going after that. We're also going after the delays. People are telling me 3, 6, 9, 12 months they're waiting. It's supposed to be 30 days, max 30 days. So we have a lot of issues. I won't go into, obviously I've gone into too much already. So why don't I do this? If we still have time, do we?
Yes, we do.
Okay. If we still have time, I'm going to open up to Q&A, and if you have specific questions, please feel free to ask about anything. And yes?
Going back to the OPRA issue.
Yes.
If I understand what you said, basically the governor came out and said that an open records document was not going to be made public to you. Based upon what criteria? Was it privacy information?
Yeah, yes. The claim is sensitive information.
What information specifically?
Standard operating procedure manuals.
That should not be considered.
I agree with you. Unfortunately, Supreme Court Judge Douglas Hurd didn't.
Is he an idiot?
He seemed like a nice enough man, but...
I think there's 2 things. One, Jesus did tell you. He asked his disciples in Luke, do you have a sword? No. Sell your coat and buy one.
Yes.
Lord, I have a sword. Sell your coat, buy another, then come to bring peace.
Yes.
That's for the original
Yes.
standpoint.
Yes.
You mentioned the Heller case, but in your conversation you mentioned something very, very important about if our land is invaded or whatever. The most liberal court in the United States, which is the 10th Circuit that gets overturned repeatedly, voted in Nordyke versus King, not voted, held
Correct.
in Nordyke versus King. And the last part of their, you read my article, it came out recently, in the last sentence it said, your right, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms is to protect the citizens against their government. even though it's unlikely, but they have to protect against the government.
Well, absolutely, and we've
And
had some...
nobody mentions that Nordyke case.
Right, well, we've also had some more recent cases too. I mean, Moore versus Madigan in Illinois just basically came out and said, you have a right to, an individual right to keep and bear, which, by the way, it took us all this time, aggravation, and money, right, to determine that bear means to carry. Right? And you're certainly, now I'm going to put my holster on in my house and go like this, you know. So now they've decided that you do have an individual, well, now it was decided at the circuit court level.
Not the state.
Right. So now we have to, now it's of course being appealed by the state of Illinois, and while they're appealing it, they're busily, you know, writing assault weapons bans, right? Which brings me back to the original joke. Assault weapons, I love this. What's the definition of an assault weapon? Robert, pick up that fork and stab, yeah, right? Because right, that's an assault weapon, right? Because anything that you can use to assault somebody with is an assault weapon. So it's really disingenuous when they call these rifles that are basically, you take a standard hunting rifle and you soup it up a little bit so that it looks like a military weapon, but it's still one shot at a time. It's a semi-automatic weapon. The only definition that is a full, you know, basically fully automatic, semi-automatic, or you know, or revolver, or you know, bolt action, single shot at a time. There's no such thing. Now, you can call a military fully automatic machine gun. If you want to call that an assault weapon. But guess what? We should be able to possess those too. Why? Right? Because we should be able to possess any arms that the military or the police can own, right? Anything that they can possess, we should be allowed to possess, because guess what? If the Second Amendment there is to protect our freedom, from whom?
Governments.
Yes, go ahead.
And listen, and so everybody knows, Connecticut is very similar to New Jersey in gun laws. They have an assault weapons ban. So that, since the mother legally possessed that rifle, there is no legal way they could call that an assault weapon. But yet they are. It was a hunting rifle. That's all it was. Whether it actually used it, that you still have to wait and find that out.
It's just media spin. I'm sorry, Marilyn. Joe, oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
That's okay.
Right here,
And
Marilyn.
that's a great, the next thing that happened, the media not only giving us false information, let's call it what it was,
Right.
deliberate false information, then a group of reporters decided that they would release information as to who owned guns in that neighborhood.
Yes, yes.
Now, what can those people do to reprimand? Can you sue? I mean, they say they have the right to expose that, but I say it was at the detriment of their safety.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer, so when you ask me a question like that, I don't have the answer.
Well,
My personal opinion is, how dare you? You know, that's nobody's business. Yes, I'm sorry.
It can be sued.
Regarding
Got me?
that, yeah, I had my hand up. Regarding that issue, just today I read that again, the paper went to another county and tried through Oprah to get more information on another county. And the county clerk refused that. So now they're gonna sue him, but it's gonna take a year and a half
Yeah.
before they ever get it to court. In the meantime, the county clerk is actually guarding against these people's names and addresses being exposed.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Now, they have put these people's lives in jeopardy.
Yes.
You know what? I think they hurt the people more who don't have guns.
Well, yeah, because basically.
Right, but
Yeah.
if I'm a gang member and I want guns, I'm going
You know
to
where
break
to
into
get
that house, shooting.
No matter how you look at it, it's bad. Okay, everybody, calm down. Yes.
She's been waiting so long.
Well, now, I'll get this gentleman then.
This is not a question, but last night as well, I was scanning through TV, I ran into the very end of it on it show. There was a college gentleman who was against gun. He once used the Freedom, called the Freedom of Information Act,
Right.
to publish the gun owners
Yeah.
on the internet. I only catch the very end of it, so I
Yeah.
don't remember the name of the guy or what the organization was from.
Yeah,
So they also trying to get
yeah.
using.
I don't know what the legality of that is, but I would say that it's wrong.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah, it is, of course. Yes.
I think that it was put in as a second amendment, as I understand it, when we were fighting the American Revolution.
Yes, the British.
We were fighting the British. We had the Minutemen.
That's
They
correct.
had to be ready.
That's
to
correct.
go.
Right.
And it was against
the
the
people.
government, the dictator, and that's exactly what we have now, and that's what it really is necessary for, government.
Thank you.
That we
Oh,
have
right.
to protect ourselves and not be without any kind of way to defend
Now,
ourselves.
if you don't mind, I'm going to just very quickly share my personal code with everyone, okay? My personal code goes like this. I, as a human being, have absolutely no right to initiate the use of force or fraud against another human being. And no other human being has the right to initiate the use of force or fraud against me. So as long as I'm minding my business and I don't initiate force, you know, I can use persuasion, I can use different techniques to interest you in a product that I have or land or whatever. But the moment I use physical force or use trickery, you know, really underhanded trickery to get you to do something, I'm wrong. And if you do it to me, you're wrong. But if you use physical force, I have the right to repel, yes.
Can I carry in my yard?
You can carry, yes, you're allowed to carry on your property.
My property.
Right. Would I recommend doing it?
Rattling socks.
I mean, you know, because here's the thing. There's a lot of things that we actually can do, but if you do them and you, let's say, are arrested, the police officer sees you and he said, well, he's disturbing the public good or whatever the heck they say, you're going to have to defend yourself in court. It's going to cost you a fortune.
If I have a firearm in my automobile and I'm going to the gun range, he pulls me over, do I have to tell him I'm going, do I have a firearm?
You do not. Not in the state of New Jersey. In some states you do.
But you should just, so you don't get.
Well, I don't know. Actually, no.
Well,
I
you should
disagree.
not.
If
Now you
you're-
agreed to search and seizure.
Yeah, I disagree. You should not volunteer any information in general. Okay, I'm going to say this real quick. And I am not against the police. We have a lot of police officers, but they can't help you. A police officer can never help you, no matter what they say. So whenever you're stopped, I would like to get my lawyer. Thank you very much. Well, I just want to ask you. No, thank you. I don't want to answer it. I don't. Well, can I look in your car? No, you can't. I'd like to speak to my lawyer. Thank you very much. Be polite, but be insistent. No matter what they say, well, if you tell me now, it'll be easier on you. No. And don't say anything, because anything you say, even the most innocent thing that you say, can be misconstrued, either deliberately or by accident. So just be careful. Yes, sir.
I was just looking through the news. New York State has just introduced to the Senate an assault weapons ban. No grandfathering, no possession at all, no registration. It's a Class B felony, same as rape 1 and manslaughter 1.
Yeah, for doing nothing, right? For possessing a tool that by itself can do no harm to anyone.
And they just redefined what an assault weapon is, and it's all in this whole bill that predated to the
Yeah.
9th of January.
Bunch of nonsense, all the way in the back, Dave.
I have three short points. Number one, if you control the language, you control the argument.
Yes.
An M16 they gave us in the Army is an assault weapon. A gun that looks like an M16, an AK-47, or whatever, is it's used just like a BB gun or a cap gun. Each time you pull the trigger, it's not an assault weapon. Don't let the liberals get away with calling these assault weapons. It's not true. Number 2 point, I have a card in my wallet that allows me to carry a concealed weapon in 38 states, but not the state that I live in. So I'm sitting here thinking, if a nut job comes through that door shooting, this chair goes through the window and I'm right behind it, you people near the door are in big trouble. Okay? Why can't I carry? I cannot protect myself in my home state because, frankly, the NRA, which I'm a member, they've written off New Jersey, which is why I'm a member of the NJ2AS. We have to be more proactive in standing up for our rights.
Absolutely.
And number 3, and my last point is, the ridiculousness of the gun laws is such that if you give me $250 tonight, I'll meet you tomorrow after a visit to Camden, and I will give you an automatic AK-47. The gun laws don't protect the law-abiding people. The definition of a criminal is they don't obey the law. What Frank said before, you go down, you get fingerprinted, you go through the FBI check, and then after a while you're allowed to buy a gun. You think a criminal's going to do that? It's asking.
Okay, before I get the hook, I just want to say one thing, a couple things. NJ2AS.com, NJ2, the number 2, 2A, right? NJ2A for Second Amendment, NJ2AS for Society, NJ2AS.com. Please go there. I want everybody in this room to become a member of the New Jersey Senate. It's $35 a year. I mean, I'm really not asking that much. I know times are tough and all that, but we need your support. We need you as members so that we can count you, right? When I go to speak to Senator so-and-so or Congressman so-and-so, I need to be able to say, I've got all these members who back what we're doing. So I need you as members. We need the resources. Also, we're having a rally on February 8th. We're having a demonstration at the Capitol building, in the alcove right there between the two buildings. It's called the entrance to the annex. We're having a rally there supporting, peaceful demonstration, supporting the right to keep and bear arms. So to just make a real quick comment on Dave's statement, the reason that you can't carry in the state of New Jersey is because the 3 branches of New Jersey government conspire against you to keep you from doing that, and they will put you in prison. That's the answer. How much time do we have?
As long as you want, I guess.
Oh, well,
I have a question.
Yeah, you have a question. Go ahead.
Have you thought about at any of your meetings requesting the local police department to have a police officer on location or more to protect you, since you're not allowed to have guns to protect you? You might have a nut job coming in to go after you, so why not, if you can't have protection, why not request it from the townships where you're having your meetings that you want police presence?
They'll probably say, yeah, but it's going to cost you.
No, but at least
you're
throwing it at them
I
and
can
see what their reaction is to that.
At least two of our, one of our meeting locations is at Gun for Hire headquarters in Belleville, New Jersey, and it's well armed. And the other location is Winslow, South Jersey Shooting Range, and right next to that is a gun shop, so it's also well armed.
Well,
we can't
we
carry
have a
our guns
location
there.
here where we are not well armed.
We'll have to work on that.
Well, we'll look into it, sure. Yes.
Two things. You apply for a private detective's license. It's very difficult to get. To get it approved, now you have to apply to the state for a permit to carry to your local chief of police.
Right.
He will deny you.
Yes.
How can you function as a private detective without a weapon? Basically, like if you go to, let's say, a domestic problem with a wife, with a husband, is in a nightclub someplace in a high crime area.
Right.
Am I going to go in there?
Right.
I can answer that.
So,
Okay, this gentleman has an answer.
well, let me just finish my
Okay,
answer.
please.
I was denied the application.
Yeah.
The second thing, as a retired law enforcement officer, under HR 218, you're allowed to carry a weapon anywhere in the United States. There's no age discrimination. New Jersey has a 75-year cutoff date.
Right. Right.
Once you're 75, you can't carry as a resident of New Jersey. But a Pennsylvania resident who's 90 years old and qualifies can come to New Jersey fully armed, and there's no problem.
Welcome to the Gestapo.
Right, well, right, exactly. Well, this is by the way,
Inequity going to cease.
this is interesting that you asked this question, because I asked myself the question. Right now there's this, the bill, I forget what the number is because they changed it, but the National Reciprocity Bill, okay, which would basically say that if you have you are a resident of whatever state and you have a valid permit to carry, concealed or whatever, you can then carry that firearm in any other state that issues permits to carry, which by the way would include New Jersey because quote unquote they issue them. Don't try to get one because you're not going to get one, but if you're a police officer, they do issue them. So here's what that leads to if that ever passes, and I hope that it does, is that I could be standing here, and I could be standing right next to a Pennsylvania resident who has a Pennsylvania resident concealed license, and I could have a Pennsylvania concealed license because you can get them, a non-resident, right? We could be standing right next to each other. He's perfectly legal, but I'm a felon, right? I'm a felon because you have to have your carry permit from the state of your residence. So it's a yes, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, I want to talk about Adam Lanza.
Yes.
For a minute or two.
Yeah.
I'm a reverend, and people don't understand there is an evil spirit called Satan. God, the Bible talks all about him. And Adam Lanza had a web page dedicated to Satan. If you look at Aaron Klein's reports, I tell a lot of people, he's on Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. on 77 WABC. 7 to 9 p.m. He's a private investigator. And he has investigators under him. Have you heard of Jerome Corsi? Well, he is one of his investigators. Adam Lanza was a Satanist. A Satanist object on this earth is to kill, to maim, and destroy. That's what the Bible says. Now, people look perfectly harmless on the outside. You go down the street, you're driving the car, someone cuts them off, kill that guy. You go to Yankee Stadium, I'm sitting in the bleachers with a youth group. I didn't want to go there. They said everyone could go. The umpire makes the call, wasn't so great. Kill the umpire. People were raging off this land. The heart of man is desperately wicked. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, says the Lord. But who would know? So what I'm trying to say is, none of this was brought out in the general media. But if you go on Aaron Klein investigations on the internet and pull up last week's tapes and listen to them, you'll get a whole different perspective of this kid.
Okay, well then I recommend that anybody that's interested in doing that, that you do that on your own, do your own investigation and, make the determination for yourself. Yes?
Yeah, I just want to tie into something that you said. You said part of the Second Amendment was to protect us from the government.
Primary reason.
Okay, a modern day example, about a year or so ago, Gibson Guitar, they got raided by, I think, the EPA or something, Customs, and they got all of their special imported whatever kind of wood that they were going to use to make their guitars. They got the whole shipment seized, and all of the wood that they seized, it was imported properly. They followed all of the customs regulations, and yada yada yada, and they still got their property seized for about a year and a half. And I don't know what the rest of the story was. I think they recently got it back. But there you go. You're protected. If Gibson Guitar had weapons, maybe their property wouldn't have been seized.
Okay. I want to step in here a minute, and I do understand what you're saying, and I don't want to get into it too deeply, but I think primarily what we're talking about here is threats to our lives. I mean, that's really what the property. Yes, property. Obviously, you can't live without property. So I'm not saying no, we don't have a right to protect our property, but we have to pick our fights, and I'm not sure that I don't know enough detail about that. Yes.
get too far off the beaten track, people need to understand the Second Amendment. And as I read it, as a self-taught student of it, and I'm not for it. All federal, believe it or not, all federal and state laws are actually unconstitutional. Will not infringe. If you go look up the word will not, go look up the word infringe and then put it together, will not infringe. That means any laws that slow you down on your purchase and anything beyond that will not infringe. Also, a lot of people want to debate, oh, it wasn't meant for the regular person, it was meant for the militia. People don't realize there's actually 3 militias now. And it says militia to protect a free state. Now, the one area in that I'm not clear, is it free state meaning one of the 50 states? Yes. Or is it a free state, my free state of being? That can be argued. Either way, it says the people in there as well.
Yeah, the right of the people.
The people.
Right.
So there's, in my mind, there's no debate, no argument in this. It is for me, it is for you, it's for anyone that decides to have one. And will not be infringed means exactly that.
Right.
So any state law or federal law that would ban anything or slow the process of you being able to purchase, hold, carry.
You know what I call that? I call that prior restraint, okay? If you have, in my opinion, right, if you are a legal firearms owner and you have not committed any crime, you have a right to your firearms, right? But otherwise it's prior restraint. Yes, sir, you had a question?
We're living in a day under a two-party system that clearly wants to do away with that pesky document called the Constitution.
Yes, that's clear.
In the event that that day comes, and we're seeing it before our eyes coming sooner and sooner, that the Second Amendment is finally trashed and they come after our guns, what will be the response of gun owners like yourself, like people in this room, like law-abiding citizens, like people in the police and the military?
Right.
What do you think?
Without making a statement that turns me into a felon, I will say that I find it highly doubtful that the American gun owner is going to turn over their firearms just because somebody
we all should. And ammunition first.
and to touch on what he was saying.
Well, wait a minute. I just want this gentleman to have his hand up for a long time.
Frank, and everyone in this room, I'd like to offer you a little bit of an opportunity. I've told some of you, I can post and have posted recently on this subject on a blog on the Asbury Park Press, app.blogs.com. It's open for comments. We can have a discussion on the articles I posted. Blogs.app.com, go to the section for Bayshore Tea Party. One of the last articles posted is on gun laws and gun control movement.
Okay, it's under Bayshore Tea Party?
Bayshore Tea Party under blogs.app.com.
Okay, good.
One more good thing for Phil. In principle, at least Scalia is with you. He may accept some limitation, but in principle he's with you.
Yeah. Gentlemen?
A quick question.
Sure.
Observation. About a year or so ago, by executive order, posse comitatus was basically neutralized.
Yes,
right?
I know, NDAA.
Where did we, okay, and this goes back to some of the questions about protection, Second Amendment protecting our rights against our government.
Yes.
Now we have no protection whatsoever under federal law based upon lack of posse comitatus
Yeah.
and the use of military.
You know, I'll tell you something. I was shocked when I saw that, and I just, you know, the response that I got was, well, this is the NDAA. It's just we're renewing it every year. It's, you know, I said, yeah, but you know what? I never remember seeing anything in there that said, you know, that they could take our property. They can come in. You know, what is that, right? And I thought, you know, well, what do you take off your tinfoil hat? You know, you're making a big deal out of nothing, right? You know, I guess it's above my pay grade, because I'll tell you, I can't see how it can be good. Yes, ma'am.
Everybody here is aware of Obamacare. I don't know how many people here have read it, but within that document, there's a segment that says that there will be a national reserve, independent of the military, that will report to Mr. Obama. I would like people here to think about the effect that will have on anybody here who has an arm in their possession. Just think of the threat that that will pose, not only to the people who have arms, but those who are independent of arms.
Well,
the whole country is threatened by
well, here's the point that I'm going to make to everybody in this room, because I think there's a lot of concern. I hear a lot of concern, and you're right to be concerned. I need you to join. I mean, that's the answer. If you want to know what the answer is, we have to fight this, right? We don't want to fight it with our arms. We want to fight it so we don't have to fight it with our arms, right? So, yes. Oh, you're joining? Oh, thank you.
Frank,
I got to get a check from you.
Why you look at that real quick?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you right now.
You done?
Okay? We were talking about the fear of a possible civil war if they come and take our guns, about Obama's private army. That's all well and good, okay? But more than 90% of our armed forces and most of our police officers and those who have served in the military have taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. If they try to change that, we did not swear to protect the president. We swore to protect the Constitution of the United States. These men and women of arms in our armed forces and our police force will join with the civilian population to take back this country if need be.
Well, so, that's hopefully the truth. I'm getting the hook, guys. I think it's time for me to get off the stage here, so I'm going to just say thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Don't forget our website, NJ2AS.com. Please join. We need you, and then we'll fight this thing together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. That was really quite informative. I want to thank everybody here from the NJ2AS for coming. A lot of familiar faces as well I haven't seen in a while. I'm glad everybody can make it. We're not going to, we're going to officially end the meeting, but we hang out afterwards if you'd like to and talk. You can stay as long as you want. And we have a glitch on our next meeting on February. It's not going to be the first Thursday of the month. For the first time in 3 years, it's going to be the first Wednesday because the place is booked on Thursday. So I hope you can make it Wednesday. I'll send an announcement out. If you show up Thursday and nobody's here, you'll know why. You all know how we end these meetings. So let's do it. All rise. Make me started, huh? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Thank you, everybody. God bless.